Hey everybody, this is Adam from Miller's Custom Guitars in Sonora, California. Today is new amp day. Holy smokes, I'm so excited. I have got my dream amp. After all these years, I've got Vox AC-15. I've always wanted one. I've always loved the Vox sound. And lo and behold, one thing led to another, and I've finally been able to get one. And this is a really interesting offering of a Vox AC-15. It's a 212 AC-15, and I got it for a really good price. It's got greenbacks in it, and I'm really excited to hear it. What's that you say? You're really excited to hear it? Yes. I gave this a cursory playthrough when I picked it up to make sure that everything was working, but I have not tried this since I've got it home. We're going to try this out together. You and I are going to give this a run through to see what it sounds like, see how it responds to my different guitars. I got my pedal board here, but we're going to see what this amp sounds like and see if I actually really like it and if it is the amp of my dreams. Okay, so for my sound samples, I have 3 completely different guitars with completely different sounds available to them. Let's start with the Telecaster. This was my very first guitar that I ever built from scratch. My Telecaster style guitar that's drop tuned with Fishman Fluence pickups in it. We're going straight into the amplifier, turn it on. I'm going to start out by plugging into the normal channel. So far all I've done is tune this guitar. Now I'm going to turn it off of standby, turn the volume up, and we'll see what we got. I have the master volume at noon, and I have the normal volume at about 9 o'clock. I have the tone cut all the way off. If you know about these amps, the tone cut basically rolls off treble. That's with the tone cut all the way up. So that's with the tone cut about maybe 11 o'clock on the knob. Now let's turn the reverb on. This is reverb at 9 o'clock. This is reverb at noon. This is the reverb at 3 o'clock. And this is reverb all the way up. I'm going to turn the reverb maybe 11 o'clock. Try some different sounds on the guitar. So right now with the master volume at 6 o'clock and the normal volume at 9:30 or 10, I would say it's a very comfortable living room volume. It's hot. I would be annoying my family, but I wouldn't be annoying my neighbors. Let's turn up the pre-volume to 6 o'clock. would definitely, even with the door closed, I can definitely tell that my family's getting annoyed in the other room. That's definitely loud enough to keep up with a drummer. I love where that sits as far as the gain level. I think if you hit that with a boost or something, that would be great. In fact, speaking of hitting it with a boost, this guitar has a built-in boost. Let's see what happens. So, neck pickup. Oh yeah, I didn't even hit the boost yet. I think that's pretty awesome. Let's try it a different way. Let's turn the master volume down. Let's crank the pre-volume all the way up. I'm going to turn the reverb down a little bit. Turn my little booster on. I think that's pretty awesome. A lot of good sound so far. So let's switch guitars and see what happens. So now I've got my Epiphone ES-335 in Blueberry Burst with vintage style humbuckers. This is an amazing guitar. I did a previous video where I experimented with putting a Duesenberg tremolo on this guitar. It was a very interesting video. Those are great trem systems. You can watch that video if you want. But I did pull that off because this guitar is just awesome as it is. It doesn't need upgrades. But let's take a look at this guitar with this amp. I put it back to master volume at noon and the normal volume at 3 o'clock. So this guitar is a lot darker, so I'm gonna turn the tone cut down to let some more treble through. Turn the reverb up a little bit. Turn up the normal volume a little bit, turn down the master. Okay, so I only turned the normal volume up to maybe 11 o'clock. I have the master volume at also maybe 11 o'clock, and I'm getting much more gain and distortion than I was with the Telecaster. A lot of volume too. So one thing we haven't talked about yet is that this amp has 2 inputs. It has a normal input and a top boost input. So let's see what the top boost input does. So the master controls, master volume and tone cut still work. But instead of a normal input, we have bass, treble, and volume, and the reverb still works. So let's see what happens. Okay, I have a bass control. Okay, I have a separate treble control. And I have a volume control that basically works like, functions like a gain control. I'm going to turn the master volume down a little bit. Go back to the normal channel. Okay, so I'm finding that I'm getting the same amount of gain at about 930 on the top boost channel that I was getting at about 1130 on the normal channel. So it breaks up a lot earlier on the top boost channel. And I have the bass and treble almost all the way up. That sounds pretty awesome. I wonder if we can get the top boost channel to be clean. So I'm going to turn the master up to 6 o'clock like we had it earlier. I'm going to turn the top boost channel up just until we have volume. In this setting, as mentioned before, I have the master volume at noon, and I have the top boost channel just loud enough to give me good volume, which is probably about 730. And you can hear I'm just getting a little bit of dirt on the bridge pickup of this guitar. If I hit it really hard, I get a little bit of dirt. So far, I am liking this amp a lot. Let's move on to the next guitar. All right, now we're playing one of my favorite guitars I've ever owned, that I've ever played, which is my Squier Paranormal Series Cabronita Baritone Telecaster in Midnight Black with P90 pickups. I like it so much that I'm getting rid of it. It's for sale now on my Reverb store. They just announced these in new colors, and the only thing that ever bothered me about this guitar was that it only came in black, and I like the new colors better. So I'm gonna try to move this one in and get another one in a color I like better. But this guitar is dynamite. It plays great, and it sounds amazing, and it's a baritone, so it has tons of deep throaty goodness. You know, if you're not familiar with baritone guitars, basically it's like a 7-string guitar, but without the high E string. This string here, all the way down, are exactly like on a 6-string guitar. It just adds a B string at the top, and then it doesn't have the top E string. But then you tune it like you would a normal guitar, right? So like this, you know, 5th fret, 5th fret, 5th fret, 5th fret, 4th fret, 5th fret, 5th fret. And so that means you can play normal guitar shapes, you know, cowboy chords, you know. They're not called the same chords, but you can just play normal shapes. You don't really have to learn new chord shapes to play. You can just play familiar shapes. A baritone guitar is a great instrument. After playing one, I think every guitar player should grab a baritone someday. They're amazing. So Let's see what we got. So I just left the settings right where they were for the last guitar. On the top boost channel, and here we go. Let's see where we're at. There's one other feature on this amp that we haven't talked about yet, and it is time. This amp has amazing tube tremolo. Let's see if this amp can chunk, huh? I'm going to crank the top boost volume all the way up, master volume down a little bit. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to plug this up into my pedal board. We're going to have some fun. So I got two things I want to try. I got my Vox set up, my AC15 set up with my pedal board. So I'm going to give you some sounds there. And then we're going to give the full effect using the wet dry rig that I would run if I was running live. And we'll see how that goes. I'm running through the Telecaster because this is probably one of my guitars I would use the most. With my basic setup on my pedal board, my signal always runs through my Timmy pedal. It stays on all the time. So that means that my drive signal is never always dry. I don't really have a clean signal. I'll just give you a comparison. This is the Vox amp. My favorite sound that I had from those sounds earlier was on the top boost channel with the gain turned all the way down and the master turned up. So that's this sound. I'm going to turn the Timmy back on. So this would be so that's effectively my clean tone. So when I play, I don't really have a clean tone. That's as clean as I ever get. I'm going to add a little bit more dirt using a Wampler Tumnus, which is like a Klon style overdrive, kind of a mid-focus. full tone OCD, which is kind of like a all around good overdrive distortion. I have the gain turned pretty low, but still it pushes it pretty hard. If I stack both those pedals, I also have a clean boost, the EP booster by Exotic. It kind of does the same thing as this. Turn this off, turn that on. Except for that's at the end of my overdrives. So if I have my overdrives on, it's a solo boost. And then the last thing I want to show you is some delays. Some other things going on. Alright, yeah, so I can really have some fun with all those effects. Okay, last of all, I'm missing my hat. Last of all, I'm going to show you my full rig, which is a wet dry rig. Some people call it wet dry, but technically it's a wet dry, because the way my signal runs is that all of my signal chain goes through the overdrive pedals. After the overdrive, it splits. One amp gets all my overdrives and the other amp gets all my overdrives plus the wet effects like reverb, delay, chorus, tremolo, and all those things. So the way that this works is that with this setup, I have the Fender here set up as my wet amp and the Vox as my dry amp. So if I had just turn that down, the Vox amp, I just turn the delay on. Vox amp is my dry amp. Sounds pretty awesome. It's got a little bit of reverb on it. That's the natural reverb from the amp. Then if I turn this back up, the Fender, you can hear it's got the delay. You can hear we didn't hear that before. And then the trick is you balance the volume of the two amps so that you get a good mix. I think that's pretty good. So the thing that's really cool about a wet dry rig is that no matter how wet your effects get, your clean amp always has note definition and clarity to cut through the mix. And also you're running two amps, so you just have a massive sound. It doesn't take a ton of volume to have a massive sound. So I have a patch worked up here. Let me see if you can guess what this is. how I do it anyway. Anyway, if you need any work done on your guitars, I'd be happy to help you with that. The shop's completely empty right now, so hit me up. I'd love to help you out. I hope you have enjoyed my foray into my new amp day. Enjoyed walking with me as I've experimented with some of my new tones. I'm sure you can tell from my very flushed cheeks it's very hot in this room, so I'm gonna turn the camera off and turn a fan on. Other than that, hey, I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks very much. Have a great one.